The thing is, the data is there. There's enough data to say this is not a gimmick. This is all real deal. Resistance will be eventually overcome. It's just a matter of continuous effort. And just like any other field, there's a certain mass effect. And when the certain mass effect reached, I think there's going to be snowballing.
Something you brought up, was with, a million, prescriptions kind of being dropped. And earlier you're talking about, PTSD, which I see a lot with veterans, and at minimum, like 4 to 5 medications, if not a freezer bag full of them. That would be a significant hit to the pharmaceutical industry.
They know. And I what's happening? It's okay to talk about this. You're not seeing this, but behind the scene, a lot of big pharma, even like Pfizer, buying out a bunch of cannabis industry. There is a silent buyouts happening. They're buying certain companies to try to develop drugs. So one of the way they're trying to replace this whole process, they're gonna say they're gonna say, look, we're gonna come up with FDA approved medications that are made out of cannabis with the isolates, synthetic cannabinoids. And we're going to say that they're safer, they're more effective, they're more standardized, and we're going to replace. They're not going to succeed. I'm not worried because, I've seen enough what GW Pharmaceutical has done to know that they're just going to coexist. But they're not idling. They're getting into the field heavy. And it's going to continue and it's going to keep going up. And I actually see this as a good thing. I think that there's nothing wrong with having pharmaceutical cannabinoids in parallel to botanicals. Yes, most people, in my opinion, will continue to gravitate to the botanicals, but there's going to be a place for pharmaceutical. Like the only pharmaceutical drugs we have that are cannabinoids are Epidiolex, right, which is pure CBD. We have Marinol, which is a dronabinol. And, if you're in Canada, there's another one that's similar to Marinol. And that's it. US did not approve Sativex because the key trial on chronic pain for cancer patients did not reach statistical significant efficacy point. So, it's a slow process for them. There's a very big interest in topical CBD. There's like half a dozen of pharmaceutical companies developing topical CBD creams. So that will probably going to get approved for something, probably for eczema in the next couple of years. I use my first line for most skin conditions at this point is cannabinoids. It doesn't even matter what the skin condition is. It's so effective that I pretty much, if patient can afford it, I'll put them straight up on some kind of a cannabinoid cream. And efficacy is usually way better than steroid cream or any other topicals.
Yeah, and it's far less harmful as well.
Far less harmful.
We've seen it in folks that come in with eczema or even or psoriasis.
And we have
big improvements.
In the book, we have a case that's published. Like we have a case of a cure of psoriasis with a topical cannabinoids cure, like complete. The patient we had was given a choice: spend $40,000 a year on biologic cream, and this patient didn't have good enough insurance to cover for that. And he said, "Oh, how about I just try $1,000 a year cream?" And so we published this because it was so dramatic. We documented everything before and after. It was the study was published with the chair of a GW dermatology department. So we have, the thing is, the data is there, right? So so there's enough data to say this is not a gimmick. This is all real deal. Resistance will be eventually overcome, right? So it's just a matter of continuous effort. And just like any other field, there's a certain mass effect. And when the certain mass effect reached, I think there's going to be snowballing. And then suddenly, we have a snowballing effect. Like, right, you fly into Baltimore airport, first thing you get out of the gate is a CBD shop. So it's already here. It's just not here yet based on concrete evidence. It's kind of a little bit all over, simply because I think a lot of the evidence is not that easy to generate. We have a lot of cases, but high quality studies cannot be easily done because it's a controlled substance. So, it has been restricting federal dollars going to research. Once it gets off of it, then it's going to be a definitely snowball, because the researchers will flock into the field. Once they can get a federal dollars from NIH to study this, I think we're going to see a massive shift, very quick shift.
I think so too. I mean, because you're right, the evidence is already there. Just talking about the pharmaceutical companies, do you feel like there's any danger to them? Because they're going in and trying to isolate specific cannabinoids. Because we know that having a spectrum of cannabinoids really can be very helpful. And I know that traditional pharmaceuticals will isolate one part of it and kind of try to manufacture that. Do you feel like there's any danger, like if the DEA kind of reschedules it instead of deschedules, which, I'm definitely a big proponent of descheduling as well. But if they reschedule, do you think there's any danger of them kind of hijacking, cannabis and leaving out the full natural option? Do you feel like that's a thing, going to be a danger?
I am not savvy enough in this regulatory structures in the field, but part of me wants to tell you yes. And that's also one of the reasons why I am against rescheduling. I'm really for, if they're not going to deschedule, okay, I'm fine with rescheduling, but I'm really pro descheduling altogether with appropriate safeguards for kids and teenagers not to use it, to keep, certain age limit, like 21, let's say. But there is this fear. I think that if we reschedule, we will push a lot of the pharmaceutical cannabinoids onto the market, and they could potentially try to replace the botanicals full spectrum products. I think that would be a huge miss. I personally, because I've done enough, I mean, at this point, I've treated more than 5,000 patients with cannabinoids. And the reality is, as I said, less than 10% of people will pick synthetics and will pick, prescription pharmaceuticals because of efficacy. It's just not as good. There is some magic happens when you put the full spectrum, when you mix. This is how nature works. Nature does not work in isolates. Nature works in whole extracts, right? We eat our food. It's not like we synthetically pull out albumin out of our eggs to infuse it into us. We eat the whole egg. There is this synergy that happens between different ingredients, and idea to isolate this in principle sounds amazing, right? Like, okay, let's isolate this and it will hit this pathway. And the problem, it never ends up working that way. Because our systems are not airplanes, right? We're not just complex, we're complicated. And our treatments need to be such. They cannot simply fit in one little niche and say, that's it. We know that when you're trying to do this, the body will find its way around. Like, look at the war on cancer. How long have we been trying? Been trying to find specific, it will never happen. The same, I'm laughing at the whole Alzheimer's treatments, like all these new drugs. Nothing will work. It's a matter of misunderstanding that when you look at the very complex medical problems, your solutions have to match complexity of the problem. They cannot be pinpointed at the point of the scalpel. It just doesn't work that way, because generally you have multiple checkpoints that are failing at the same time, and you have to address it. And so cannabis fits there as one of the part of the puzzles amazingly well, because look at the plant. It's so sophisticated, and we co-evolved with the plant for thousands, for millions of years. Why? Okay, that's upstairs question. But it happened, right? So it happened, and I think we have to honor that, and we have to maintain the relationship with the plant in that level of complexity.
I could not agree more, because that's where all the success is having access to the actual plant.
That's right. Maybe I went a little too metaphysical. I hope that's okay.
No, I love it. I thought it was great.